Welcome to Chanthangeliard, home of Nothero the Cryptwalker and Springball, available in the link below. We come to you live from the heart of Lovecraft country, and we would like to take this moment to ask you to do us a favor.
If you could please hit the like and subscribe button located down below, it would be most appreciated.
Quite right, Mother. Thank you for your thoughts on this matter. We do hope you will join us for the rest of the episode, and if not, do hit that like and subscribe button. It would mean the world to us.
And now, on with the show.
Whoa! Here we are again on another Sunday. The 23rd episode of Comics and Curios Inside the Studio. From the heart of Lovecraft country and the birthplace of American religious liberty. My name is Chanthangeli. This is Chanthangeli Art. Last I checked. And it is great to see you guys. I hope you're all doing well. Let's see who we've got in the chat here. My brain is pudding. What's up, Corey Landis? Great to see you, my friend, the infamous Mr. Cursed. It is great to see you, brother. I hope you are doing well and having a wonderful Sunday. We've got Christopher Bouchard in the house. Great to see you, Chris. I hope you're doing well. And, of course, Cursed Heart Creations. Need I say more? Cthulhu is stalking, absolutely stalking the creature from the Black Lagoon. That's what's happening on this fine day. But yeah, guys, lots of craziness going on. Lots of cool stuff to talk to you guys about. I hope you're all well. There is Past Master Dan, looking serious. I feel you. It doesn't show that I'm live. Well, if you took my pulse, you'd probably know why that is. It might not be working at the moment, but it's great to see you fine folks. We'll see if we can speed up everybody's pulse and maybe kickstart mine. What's up, Michelle Bowers? How are you doing? Hong Kong Fooey. Hey, you magnificent bastards, says Hong Kong Fooey. And we say hey to you as well, my friend. It's great to see you. Shanth, are you a fan of Death Dealer and Elric of... This is me both answering the question and also getting hooked on phonics. There it is. Now it is. Okay, good. Melnibone. Is that how I pronounce that? I know what Elric is, and I understand there's some good painted comic bande dessinée of it, but I'm not that wildly familiar with it. And then, let me see. Death Dealer, I know, of course, the paintings by Frank Frazetta. Love those paintings. I think they're awesome. And Death Dealer inspired a character that's going to be in Nosferatu 2. So that's as far as I know. What is up? Hail, brother Shanth and crew. Not home at the moment, but we'll try to and catch it. Awesome, my friend. Great to see you, Mark. Happy Sunday, brother. I hope you were doing well. Mark's Music Obsession in the house, guys. All right, so let's talk turkey. Let's talk shop. Let's talk gouache. So here's the thing that I've been thinking about. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm going to start doing weekly streams again that are just going to be me painting and the horror of painting, where I basically walk you through color, walk you through all of these different things. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is that of all the paints and the types of paint that are out there, when you think about it in this day and age, particularly when most people are doing things in digital, it seems to me the one that's the least known about, but that used to be the most common, is gouache. So people know about acrylic, people know... Actually, I take that back. There's one that's less common than gouache. Yeah, stream weekly, story of my life. All right, I'm going to pause everything I'm saying right now to address this, Past Master Dan. You just reminded me of something that was the most cold-blooded moment from art school, back when art school, was art school, and it actually, they actually critiqued people and let people know what's up, and they had a shot to learn something. This teacher of mine named Tony Janello, I don't mind outing him because, I don't think he'd mind, but this teacher I had named Tony Janello said to a friend of mine named Jen, when she brought in her work, he said, "Jen, you've been doing your assignments weekly, and I mean that in both senses." Brutal. I mean, we all were just like, oh no! Like, my God, that was one of the most savage things I've ever experienced in a classroom. But yes, indeed, I am doing it both weekly and weekly as we speak. What was I just going to talk? Oh, so gouache, right? There's a bunch of different paints people don't know about. And so people know about oils, they know about acrylics, they know about watercolor. There are two paints, one even more so than gouache, that nobody has ever heard of. And what's interesting, what's up, Drummer on Fire? How you doing, brother? Great to have you with us. What's interesting is a lot of people who have a reaction to the toxicity of oil paints, who want to paint things that are permanent, or people who like watercolors but they want to be able to do something that's a little bit more opaque, would benefit from these two types of paint. That's right, gouache, 100%. I've actually got a mug over here. I don't know if you guys can see it, in addition to the mug on my face, that I used to joke that I want to get gouache trending on the internet. I used to post, all my posts had this on them on Instagram when I was regularly on Instagram. And let me see if you guys can see this. So a student gifted me this mug right there. Hashtag gouache. It was such a great present. Now, this student, interestingly enough, was blue-yellow colorblind. And I actually was able to teach her how to paint in color, and she just does extraordinary work now. Just crazy work. But she got me that. It's a wonderful token, and I love that kind of thing. I used to pronounce it gouache. Well, that's funny, because honestly, I didn't know how to pronounce it for a very long time. I thought about doing a show one time on YouTube called Oh My Gouache, but I realized I'd be the only person who watched it. Let me see. Cindy Joe, are you streaming to YouTube also? I can't find it. Go to Shanthan Jetty Art, or actually go to my X account, and it will be posted with the YouTube link on it. So I also posted on my X if you're following me there. So yeah, check it out. Jimmy the Lumberjack, what's up? Happy Sunday, Shanthan chat. It's great to see you, man. It's been a minute. Holy cow, look at all you fine people popping in here on this fine Sunday. I hope everybody's doing well. We had a heck of a thunderstorm last night here in Lovecraft Country, here in Little Rhodey, as we call it, and it's been crazy. So there's gouache, which is a really great paint if you want to get more opaque and if you want to really kind of play around with things. And I want to get people over, if I may, the fear of gouache, the fear of paint in general. But I also want to talk about how it was used before and how cool it was, because gouache gives you a lot of detail. It can give you a lot of detail, can allow you to draw, and it can also give you these vibrant matte colors that scan really well and show up really well on camera. And it's something that's hard to do with oil. Thank you so much, Cursed Heart Creations. I really do appreciate that. So yeah, so I started, I was hitting a wall with this painting, just trying to figure out where I wanted to take it. And I started to give it just this ever so subtle, which I'm going to build out, head turn. And when I did that with the trailing sort of blood and saliva and creepiness of it, I was looking at John Berkey's, if you guys know John Berkey's 1976 King Kong paintings, and I just got so into it. And because that movie has a special place in my heart, because my mother-in-law, God bless her, I'm going to be seeing her soon, was pregnant with my wife, and she said she had to cram into the back of some hatchback car while she was pregnant. She was really annoyed, and they were going to see King Kong, and she went into labor and had to go, and instead of going to see King Kong, she had to go have my wife. And I love that my wife has a connection to King Kong. She also has Yeah, thank you so much, Cranberry Landers. I appreciate it. Yeah, Creature Spit Take, 100%. Yeah, he was watching my stream, and he just lost it. But she also has Frank Frazetta's birthday, so very cool things, man. But but I'm a big fan of her. What can I say? So one of the artists who uses acrylic and gouache that I'm a big fan of, and I've shown on this channel before, and I gotta make sure. I think everything in here is not too risque. How's that for whetting the appetite there? But I show his stuff a lot, but I think it's rare that I talk about the stuff that he does that is so great. And I wanted to show his in terms of the gouache usage. So this is Samson Pollen, and this book is called Pollen's Women, and you can tell why. But it's a great book, a fantastic book. And the thing about this book is these are the types of painted illustrations that were happening back in the day. And I wanted to share these with you. But you can see where they painted this out. They used left space for text. He probably had models. But all of this stuff is typically going to be gouache on illustration board, which is exactly what I do Springball on. I do Springball on illustration board. And what people don't know about gouache or don't think about with gouache is how incredibly detailed gouache allows you to get. Now, when I was coming up, one of the things that I noticed was there were two kinds of gouache that you could find. You could find something called designer's gouache and artist's gouache. And I had no idea what those two terms meant. And so I would always get, whichever one was in front of me, to be honest. I don't think I ever bought the same thing twice. Where is Stephen Rockwood drawing, by the way? Because he's usually the one clamoring for this stuff. But there were two kinds of gouache you could get. And I actually, because I grew up in Chattanooga, and it's not like I was talking about art all the time. Let's see, found it. Chanu kind of has a creature from the Black Lagoon feel. Yeah, well, I mean, that's inevitably going to happen because I've got this guy watching over me. And of course, you can see on my TV, I've got HD trains playing because I don't make this stuff up as I go along. This is the craziest thing I'm going to tell you about gouache. It'll blow your mind. I like Pollen. I did a book of my women. It's 2-page pamphlet. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, this dude is amazing. Amazing. And it's great to see. Oh, you found it. Good. You found the stream. Awesome. I just put that together. So this is the thing about it, right? Is that, when these guys were working, when they were doing this stuff and they were approaching this stuff, it allowed them to get detailed, it photographed well, and all of these guys, this was just a working artist medium. So I thought designer gouache meant like designer jeans or something like that, because that's the only time I ever heard the word designer. I certainly wasn't thinking about that kind of, other than like, interior design or something. We had stores like that in Chattanooga. And what I learned is that artist gouache was actually the better kind because it was for fine artists or people who wanted their art to look a certain way. And designer gouache was made to have more opacifier in it and lay down flat like Japanese poster paint. And I went, oh, so that's why I prefer designer gouache, because designer gouache is made for being reproduced, made for designers to use, because a lot of the beautiful graphic design and hand lettering you'd see back in the day was done with gouache. So all those ads that had hand lettered type and things like that were done with gouache, which is crazy because acrylic came later, and so there was a much longer history with that. And so here you can see how these things look when you get the type put into them. So here is that same piece, no pun intended, but with the type overlaid on it. Isn't that crazy? So you can actually see where these things went. And then here are more gouache illustrations of pulp stories. Let me see if I can raise this thing up a little bit more. So there are some more gouache illustrations that would have been in these adventure magazines. Almost looks like this movie my wife and I watched recently called, funny enough, military guy washes up in a Polynesian sort of country, called Bird of Paradise. It's a wild public I don't know if it's public domain, come to think of it. But it's definitely a pre-code movie, and worth a watch if you ever want to see something crazy. Super chat from Dapple Darling. My gosh, $10 super chat. Holy cow. Shekels for the art class. You are very welcome to it, and thank you so much. Yummy indeed, says Comic Books in Cahoots. This is my pleasure to do, and what a lovely dog, by the way. I love seeing that. And here are some cheerleaders for you, my friend. We must have cheerleaders forthwith. Thank you very, very much for the super chat. Much appreciated, my friend. And always, always my pleasure. So let's take a look. Let me see if I can get this zoomed out a little bit so you can also see my messy palette, because that kind of relates to everything that we're talking about here today. So you've got Samson Pollen. This book is not very expensive, but I can assure you, if it's still on Amazon, if you pick it up when it goes out of print, and then here is all of the graphic design and type that would go with these. Just incredible stuff. Like the average illustrator back in the day could paint and draw so well because it was about the craft. And we've had a lot of conversations about art and creativity on this channel. I was having one with one of my brothers the other day. And I tell people that people are so concerned with their style and their art that they get lost, and I think that's almost about to get us in trouble. So let me try this one. But it's they're so concerned with that stuff that they don't just think about the technical skill. The average artist that was working, by the way, see, some people would notice the figure at the top of the stairs in this one. I'll just give you a quick glimpse so you see it. I noticed this painted logo on the back of the shirt, Owens Lumber Company. That's the stuff that I miss, and that's the stuff that's just mind-bending. And I'm going to be painting, actually, a female figure today. That's one of the things I want to do. But here's more just simple palette, really bright reds, on a firescape, in perspective. That is crazy perspective. Look at that. The shoe is dynamite. So is the gun. Outstanding. Wow. Really good. And then, of course, here's the woman in the office with one of these really great round-edge desks. That must be a perspective nightmare. Look at that. It's got an S-curve, and speaking of curves. And then you've got the file cabinets. Look, I want you guys to take a look at this. Look at the file cabinets. The books. You can see the brushstroke on this. Look at the guy's pants. Great job, man. And then the building's out the window. Really great stuff. But you can't go wrong with this dude. He's just does fantastic figures, fantastic environments. Is this page? Are these 2 pages? What is this? 44? Okay, no, it's not. No, wait, there's a page here. This book, there we go. This book is just outstanding. And so here is the some of the like sketches, the designs, and then here's where this stuff goes. And here's where it gets put together. And so this is more Samson Pollen, and this is what Gouache was always about. Gosh, I gotta like mind which ones I'm showing. Samson, calm it down, baby. I want to find one that really shows off. Oh, this one's pretty good with the detail. Look at this one. Check that out. Look at that. That's insane. Look at all of that detail. How good is that? And then you can just see how the paint comes together. So when I'm showing you guys the stuff that I'm working on, and these guys were doing these on quick turnarounds. When I'm showing you the stuff I'm working on, what is up? Antoine Dennison. Hold on a second. I got to say hello to my man, Antoine Dennison. Also, yeah, just the right amount of booty reveal. Yes, and yes. Because I know Antoine's going to have something here to say. Another thing that blew my mind about those old school commercial arts guys is they would create multiple iterations of any given piece, yes, either by choice or editorial request. They would bang out like 2 or 3 versions of this stuff because they were in the zone with their craft. 100% Bootlegger Comics. What's up, Bootlegger Comics? I love that logo. It's great, man. Classy Sleaze was the mark of a master, 100%. Love the blue. I was about to say that, too. I love the monochrome on this stuff. Because it was probably more cost-effective to do this kind of stuff. What's up, Mo Biggs? And it's the same thing over here with the red. You think about it in terms of CMYK. But yeah, everybody's excited to see Antoine Dennison. What's up, Mo Biggs? Yes, indeed. Comic Books in Cahoots, you're absolutely right. Cranberry Landers, you're absolutely right. And Infamous Mr. Curse is like, yeah, right on, man. Right on. And so that's the thing to me that oh man, and then you get to see it with all of like how the type had to fit into it. Look at this. I mean, can you imagine? This is what I want to do on this channel. This is the big thing that when you guys, and thank you for the super chat again, by the way, because that stuff goes to brushes. That stuff goes to being able to do all of this stuff. I know you guys know that. I know I tell you how much I appreciate you channel members and everybody who supports this channel. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for being here and watching. I do appreciate it. It's never lost on me. But look at how they're putting this together. The old cut and paste days, which is crazy. Hail and happy Sunday, says Christopher Sheriff. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Everyone, some of my favorite paintings and drawings are celebrating the human female. Yeah, I mean, it's the best subject, undefeated, 100%. I mean, look, guys, I love us and all, but the history of art is very much about the female form, and we're just going to have to accept that. But this is what was considered, average workaday art, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's not great. Just make sure everything is above board or covered, as the case may be. But just look at this. This is something to aspire to. I think more people, like if you want to practice painting and if you want to look at paintings, the biggest thing I would say to do is get a book like this. It's not that expensive if you can find it, if it's still on Amazon. But get a book like this and start doing studies of this kind of work. It will really improve you as an artist, but it doesn't have to be art. It doesn't have to be sold. The best thing in the world is doing something that is not for career, not for job. If you have something you love and you want to make it exhausting and frustrating, do it for work, do it for a living. And it's much harder to do, but I think that's why there's not a lot of people like Samson Pollen out there who are just cranking out this stuff, because to keep that energy level up when it's your job is tough. And you're absolutely right. Fueled 80% by cigarettes, absolutely right. What good stuff isn't? Let me see here. Let's see what else I got. And then, of course, here you've got the layouts to show you what the things look like. And you can see where these things come from. I mean, this stuff is great. I love buying these sort of like old pulps that have this stuff. But I'm also grateful. I don't think things are going well based on this illustration. I think this guy is in trouble of some kind. But yeah, just incredible stuff. And look at this perspective. When I sat down and I was thinking, I want to do Nosfero and I want it to be painted, this is the stuff I was thinking about. Because a lot of people are like, oh, but, doing perspective, can you do all of that in comics? And I think, well, everything can be done. And the question is who are you looking at for inspiration for this stuff? And this stuff inspires me. Yes, need a whole page for the modern... Yes, we do. 100%. I probably would have thought there were photos in Life magazine. Yeah, I know, isn't that crazy? It's just breathtaking stuff, and there was a lot of people doing work on this level. It's just he was doing the pulp stuff. What gets me is, here's this female figure, then you go to the background and they're on a freaking cruise ship in perspective with, like, tossing in the sea. Look at how the boat's tipped and the guy is going overboard. And then here's another great illustration, and then we squeezed. It's not the most accurate. Look, guys, these guys were on a deadline. But we squeezed a motorcycle in there. So, you got to give him some appreciation for that. But when you're on a deadline and you're painting like crazy, there's more right about this than wrong. Look at this creepy illustration. Some kind of hypnotizing trance. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, beautiful illustrative work. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do with every comic thing I do. Everything you guys back and support here is handcrafted. Printed in the USA, handcrafted in the USA, and what is it we say? What is my friend's dad had a country music band, and he played the banjo, and he used to say country music sung from the heart but through the nose, and I always loved that, man. There's a boat. I know I'm the same boat you are with that. Yeah, Dorothy got tranced. That's exactly who she looks like. You're absolutely right. Yeah, reminds me of Vargas a little bit, and think about that for a minute. You had people like Vargas going around during this time. So many great artists were getting their skills and working. I think these are more people putting into a trance or something. Listen, I know some of you guys have been to these kinds of parties. You don't fool me. I know you guys like to make everybody think you keep it above board. I know some of you have been to this kind of party. And I salute you for it. So speaking of monochromatic, here's some blue-green on a subway or a trolley. I can't really tell what it is from the view. Maybe it is a subway. I can't really tell. But take a look at that, and then you could tell we were going to comp in the type for this. Isn't that great? How cool is that? Yeah, we've all seen that look before. Listen, don't hate the player. Hate the game. Yeah, those kinds of parties, ... If you've been, you know. You know, you wake up and you're like, I got to get out of here. I mean, I would imagine. Look at this one, too. That is creepy. Oh, man, that building in the back. Now, I want you guys to take a look at this for a second. Masonic Egyptian chair. Absolutely right. Yeah, that is great. Yeah, isn't it? Really good stuff. Yeah, he is. He is good at his job. No getting around it. But I want you to take a look at this, right? So now I'm going to zoom in on this because this is the figure, right? This is the whole painting right there. The lights, the fence, a little bit of cobblestone painted in there, some leaves. But let's go back here into this figure up here, I think. And then the signage. Look at how great that is. It's like looking at the high watermark of 20th century illustration. Ain't that the truth? Comic books in cahoots. We've got to bring that back. I tell you guys this, and you know when I say this because it's the book isn't available right now. Frankly, it's in the final stages. I should be getting them soon, hopefully. But when you support the stuff I'm doing, that is 100% what you're supporting. That is what I'm trying to bring back. The stuff that people are convinced and keep saying, oh, that can't exist, that can't exist. This stuff that you're seeing right here, that I'm doing in these comics, guys, this is funded by you. This isn't coming from a publishing house. This is coming from like a small like family business. That's it. Like we do this out of our house. And it's because you guys back everything I'm doing. You guys support my stuff with the channel and everything else. That's why I'm able to do this. There's some people who see this stuff and think, I really wish someone was still doing this. You guys actually say that and do something about it. You guys make pulp artwork happen and exist. The only reason, and I never would have imagined this before Comicsgate and all of you guys, there's an art edition of this book being printed right now because of you guys. Do you see what I mean? There's an art edition of this book, which means not only people who are fans of the work, but people who are crazy enough to want to be able to have just the close-up with just the artwork. That's a level of support that I am so grateful for. And it is just the craziest stuff in the world. Look at this. Insanity, man. Just insanity that you guys have made all this stuff happen. Anyway, so nothing much, I think. I don't know. You never know. Hopefully nothing too bad. That's why you keep making big... Oh, geez. Thank you so much. Comic Books and Coots. It's funny, though. Like, when all that stuff happens, it's wonderful. It's great affirmation. And I'm so grateful to Ethan for everything he does with that show and with everything else that he does. I'm here because of the promise of that you can come here and you can do the work, and there's this amazing audience here that of backers who want to make this American art form, all these American art forms, live and thrive. And it is one of those things to where when people try to put us into a box in terms of what we like, what we want to support, we just want quality. We just want stuff that's cool. And sending a painting to somebody that they win in an auction is... I pack those things within an inch of their life. I'm sure Bell Winters could tell you that. Anyone who's gotten something, Mark's Music Obsession could tell you that. It's a huge part of why I do what I do. And it's because this is going to become, when I do a painting, it's going to become somebody's property. They're going to become a part of this American art form. and they're getting work made by an American here in this country, trying to keep these traditions alive, which is so great. Paul's Arts, what's up? It's great to see you. Mikey's Madness, great to see you. Hail Sean, my favorite streams. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Oh my gosh. You'll be okay as long as you ship your books and art. Yes, absolutely right. Yeah, that's everything. Back in the day when I painted gouache, I love it, man. Antoine, I'm so glad you're here, man. I've been missing you lately, man. I know everybody's got stuff going on all the time. I mean, it's been crazy here. Maybe I'll talk about it at some point, just in terms of all the plate spinning. But back in the day when I painted gouache, painted gouache wasn't indelible. Is that the case with modern formulas? So I would say the staying power of gouache is incredibly high if you don't put it in sunlight. So I have paintings that are over 30 or 40 years old now, easily 30 or 40 years old. And the colors are just as good as they were when I put them down from this Pelican Pan Opaque watercolor set. And it's wild to have that kind of time on your artwork, but that's how long I've been painting with these paints. So maybe, it would be 30 years because as long as I've known Rocky, I've been using those paintings. And thank you, another super chat, $10. My gosh, another $10 from Dapple Darlings. More shekels for art supplies. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. And more cheerleaders are coming. That's just the way it got to go. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Some oil paintings get better over time. Yeah, there's because I was having that conversation with somebody about paint and what people connect to. And I was talking about how you look at Vermeer's work or you look at Maxfield Parrish's work, which he did these amazing thin glazes of oil. I saw a Maxfield Parrish painting. I mentioned this, I think, last stream at Skywalker Ranch. And the thing looked like a nightlight. It looked like it was lit from within. And I tell you what, I've seen some Anders Zorn originals that are amazing, some John Singer Sargent originals. Those things look like they were painted like a week ago. They're just incredible. Just incredible works. So let me see what else we have. Some more stuff, a pool table. I want to see if I can get some more. Oh yeah, here you go. Submarine. I want to get some really... And look at this. Our favorite subject matter. Americans fighting Nazis, rescuing damsels in a submarine. Get out of town. And all of this stuff we can do. You know, it's just a question of photo reference and learning it. You can find, by the way, more 3D models. My son probably makes them. This is an absolutely insane painting. It's... Gotta adjust my camera. It's not center frame. Don't have my camera positioned right. Look at this. My good... Oh, there we go. It's because the camera keeps tilting. That's what it is. There we go. Look at this. This is crazy. There's an entire train back there going off into perspective. And a ravine. And the cars turning. This is nuts. Ah, yes, indeed. Yesterday was the 82nd anniversary of the D-Day invasion of Nuremberg. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, that's the type of stuff we used to illustrate. We used to illustrate that stuff all the time. This is wild. Wild illustrations. Look at this stuff and look at the amount of care and attention. This is getting me excited about painting, guys. I hope it's getting you guys excited. Obviously, this is the other battle mankind has been engaged in. This is the only thing I notice in this, in the background, is the frustrated painter down there. That's what I noticed. Yep. Dutch layout. You're absolutely right. It is crazy. Yeah, I'm telling you what, man. This guy has got skills for days. Can you even imagine a painting like this? I mean, you could probably imagine a photograph, but a painting of something mid-action. That is wild. Most people would paint some of this, but they wouldn't paint that background, would they? Just outstanding. Craziness, man. Yeah, I don't know what kind of game of ping pong this. So I saw this original right here in an auction, and that's when I realized he was using gosh, what is it? Number 80 Bainbridge board or Crescent? I think it was number 80 Bainbridge board, illustration board, cold press, and it gouache. And I saw this for auction. I was blown away. And then here is another painting by the man. There's an entire train back there. Indeed, some Antoine, Professor. Sometimes you catch me unawares. You got me. Oh my gosh. A $1.99 super chat from Comic Books and Cahoots. The quality work was on monthly paperback covers. You're 100% right. Thank you for the super chat. Guys, it's raining cheerleaders. Some days it's slower than others. Today is crazy. Thank you so much. Let me switch to the... Actually, I can turn on this camera if I can find it. Where is it? Oh, that's weird. Let me see. Is it this one? No. I gotta find the right one. I may just duplicate that. Let's go up here to where I'm back in effect. Why isn't that working? There we go. I'm back. All right, so thank you so much, Comic Books and Cahoots, for that wonderful super chat. Yeah, this is quality stuff. But even, like, you see the figure, right? You see them in the boat. You see the two figures, the photo reference. Same thing there. But then you go into the background, and it's like, let me see if I can get this to work. Waves are notoriously tricky to paint. And look at the job he's doing with the waves in this. I mean, outside of the other stuff. What's up, Scribe Comics? How are you doing, my friend? It is great to see you. All right, and so here we've got the layouts for the paperbacks, and you can see it all. Great to see you, Scribe Comics. That's what I was going to say. You said women since art was first done, but I was going to say war has also been. Yes, of course. You're celebrating the things that you value, and those are the two things that we value. Victory in battle and things that we form a foundation on, and then women who are, you know, the prime ingredient in the next generation. And that's what people were fighting for. They were fighting for land and to protect their women. That was pretty much it, you know, and defending their hearth and home. And that's the kind of stuff that we celebrated, and we celebrate still. And what's up, Justin Soto? How are you doing? It is great to see you, my friend. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And so when I look at this stuff, that's what I always come back to. I always come back to, like, what are we celebrating? Okay, that's getting a little dicey right there. I mean, I know Samson's still trying to get, you know, away with it. I'm like going, I gotta be careful on these pages. Oh, these are awesome. Wow, speaking of the blue color use, look at that. Yes, they also paint a lot of food. That's true, too. We do love food. There was that phase. That's right. Once the fighting stopped, the Flemish artists were, or they weren't getting involved in the fighting, maybe. I feel like I'm thinking of a Orson Welles quote that's going to pop into my head soon. But look at this background. These guys had to be able to paint, and they really created an immaculate reality when they were doing their work. Look at all of that. Look at all of the staging in that. Paul Schmidt's guitar, 100%. 100%. Wow. It's incredible stuff. I mean, what gets me is this one of the boat that has the swimming pool on it, all of the figures on it in perspective, and then a submarine pulling up and them being fired upon. Like, this is, I'm going to zoom. I'm going to put it closer to the camera. Not really. This is, what is this called? Old school zooming? I'm going to put it close to the camera, but look at all of this crazy detail. Look at all of that. Just unbelievable. I'm going to see if I can get how close I can get before it pixelates. Can you guys see that okay? Let me know if you guys can see that okay in the chat. That is dynamite. I mean, that is just extraordinary. Really stunning stuff, man. I mean, really putting the time in on this stuff. It's, you know, it's the kind of thing that I would love to see. Like, I'm glad Graham is doing the two-fisted Manly Tales stuff. I think that stuff is great. And it is... Oh, good, you guys can. Good, good, good. That was a good time before the submarine showed up. 100% relatable. Yeah, but look at the... There's a figure painting mural on the wall in the painting of figures. What on earth? There's a painting on the ceiling. Look at the... Oh, man, marble is a nightmare to paint. Not only is there marble, but there's a reflection of marble on the marble floor. Get out of town. Wow. Just imagine the great cover art, the art department turned down back then, 100%. Well, you know how a lot of these were secured. If you guys need to feel like a little sickening like horror, I'll feel free to share it. What's up, Grey Wolf Graphics? How you doing? Yeah, that's incredible detail. Here you go, guys. Norman Rockwell's, NCYS, J.C. Leindecker's, so many of these great artists' work were picked up for like pennies on the dollar or nothing when illustration firms were closing down and magazines closed down. They would oftentimes crate old artwork out, particularly stuff like this, and put it in the alley behind the place, and people would pick that stuff up for free or for $20 or $30. Now that stuff is worth $1 million in some cases. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it was given away because it was painted to be scanned and then thrown in a flat file. Often never returned to the artist. I think Frank Frazetta was one of the early people who campaigned and petitioned for artwork to be returned. But watch this right here. This is a figure standing in front of a mirror. Look at this. Painted the figure from 3 different views in the same pose. But yeah, all of this stuff, like I've got a stack of original artwork over there. When you guys buy these sketches and you guys bid on the sketches I'm doing, that's the crazy thing. You're bringing the stuff home. Wherever the artwork goes, if you own originals of somebody's work, I have yet to see traditional originals go down in value in my lifetime. In my lifetime. I own a Todd McFarlane original page that doesn't have Spider-Man on it. It has Peter Parker and Mary Jane, but it's a perspective shot. And when he gave that to us, gave that to me, that piece of artwork, it had written on the back of it in ballpoint pen, because Spider-Man wasn't on it, $75. And I can assure you it's probably worth more than $75 now. But it's priceless to me because, you know, it was a gift from my hero, so you know how that goes. So these right here were probably found kicking around in somebody's house. If you go and look at auctions for Samson Pollen on Heritage Auctions, they probably were going for a lot more. They may go for a lot more in the future. I'm certain for whatever you pay for these things, you would be making more money off of them if you got them, because these skills are there. Yeah, I love original art too. It's absolutely true. Like Van Gogh and many other artists, no value or little value in the artist's lifetime. You're absolutely right. And I will tell you guys that I've found that my originals have not stopped going for, in terms of my pages and my paintings, they've only become more and more expensive. And also people don't, not only do people want to pay more for them, but people don't want to sell them. Like people like buy things to hang on to them. They're like, I'm going to keep this. Like this is my artwork. And that is really kind of extraordinary. So there's not a lot of that stuff on the market. And this is absolutely insane, this painting. Look at this. Look at how much is happening in this painting. Let's go to the background and look at these little... How do you paint with tiny dabs of paint? Can you guys see that? The truck in the very background of this? Look at all of those little figures right there in the waves. And the soldiers. And the Jeep. And then we get to this ship with people on it still firing, people in the water. There are figures in here that are smaller than one letter in his signature. Yeah, 100. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. OG Foot Fetish is totally true. Yeah, AI is going to absolutely make it more valuable. So here's the biggest thing that people are saying right now, these days, who are in the art world, is they're saying not only is there more digital work being done and obviously more AI art being done, But you can't even find people who can paint anything remotely competent anymore. So those of us who know how to paint and illustrate things are becoming rarer and rarer, which means there's less work, and when there's less work, it's more valuable. Find me the artists who can paint you something like this, and they're going to be making some money. You know, yeah, Apex Comics is agreeing 100%. You know, it's craziness. This is what people did as sort of the average baseline to get into the field. You know, and that is, that's white, but I don't know if AI will ever fully be able to recognize this stuff. But let's look at the black and whites. Let's look at these. Look at the background of these figures. 100% insanity and madness. This one cracks me up. She's emptying the wallet, son. She's emptying the money purse there. But look at the background. Look at the fireplace. Look at everything on the table. You can tell he's put this little candle holder in a bunch of his pieces. He probably owned it. Yeah, nice yams. 100%. Yep, absolutely right. Yep, that's a 10K original work. There you have it. You know it's true. It's like how not many people could build a pyramid. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, that goes without saying, yeah. Parents were disappointed that their son was doing salacious work. You know what's so funny is I wouldn't doubt that. You never know. Unless, of course, he was supporting them through the work. You never know. A lot of these guys did back then. And so, yeah, so here's a bunch of images of covers of all of the kind of crazy work of, you know, sketches and, you know, stuff for, you know, the various work. The Men's Adventure Library. This is the book company that does it. But, yeah, this book is great. So along those lines, right? Along those lines and along what we've been talking about, one of the things that I wanted to do today, well, there's many things I want to do today. There's always so many things I want to do in a given day. Was I wanted to see, where do I have? I have tons of books, sketchbooks and things. But I wanted to see if I had one. This is just a giant stack of sketches, isn't it? Wow. Sometimes I forget how much work I do. It's never ending. It's never ending. I mean, I put in crazy hours on all this stuff. But maybe I'll do it with a sheet from in here. Let's just see. Let's see here. I'll just use this and I'll rubber band it down. So let me remove this because I set this up to remove it. I had to cut down all of the glue that was there. Yeah, she's poisoning him. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, so it's so detailed. It's so detailed. Absolutely right. Yeah. And so one of the things I wanted to do today, and I'm going to continue working on a lot of this stuff, but I wanted to get started exploring a figure painting. So that ties in pretty well with Pauline's work, and also you guys can see a little bit about how I sketch these things out. So there's a movie that we've watched on Pizza Live a bunch of times that some of you guys might remember, called, well, it's either called Horror Hotel in the U.S. or it's called, City of the Dead. And it's a really great film. Let me see here. It says, I wonder if those monochrome pieces were due to him not having money for other colors or tested skills. The monochrome were usually about the cost of the magazine was cheap. So they said, we could do a spot color on this, red, blue, you know, or, you know, it was cheaper than doing a full color illustration, and then black and white illustrations. When I started out, color printing was so expensive that you could still get work. People would tell you, do black and white illustrations, because black and white illustrations, there's more work for them than there is for color. You're not a rock star. You're not going to get in doing color illustration, which sounds unbelievable now to people back in the day, but it's how it was. Coke is it. Gotta love it. So, let's talk turkey here, and let's talk sketching and artwork and all that fun stuff. So I want to paint one of the girls from City of the Dead, and I'm going to call her a girl, even though she was way older than me. She passed away, God rest her. She was apparently called the most photogenic person on the planet, which is not something most of us will ever have said about us, which I find fascinating. I wonder what that does to a person to have that said about them. You know, you're the most photogenic person on the planet. It's like, wow. I mean, that's better than I got into having. So let me let me see if I can make this sort of work so you guys can see some of this stuff. There we go. That's not bad. How much does a 6-pack of cola or Dr. Pepper cost? A lot. You can ask Mrs. Ingetti about that. Almost $7. Is it almost $7?
For bottles.
Oh, for bottles, it's $7, she says.
But they do deals sometimes if you buy 2.
Ah, they do deals sometimes if you buy 2, she said. I love that my wife, she's the best. You guys know that. Let me see here. See, okay, so I'm gonna rough this in, and this is a black and white photo I'm working off of, but I want to show you how I rough in. And I'm probably gonna just totally choke on this. I just want to let everybody know that I know what's happening. I just want to see if I can get what's the best angle for you guys. Let me see if I raise that up a little bit more. Is that better? Because I'm gonna tilt this either way. All right, now the light with the camera on it was directly in front of me. I was like, why didn't I use that before? Because it's in the way, and I have to see the paper. I always try to set things up so that you guys can see it, and sometimes I forget that I need to see it too. So let me see here. So I'm gonna show you how I rough these things in. I'm gonna do with a little bit. I always like to use blue or something, but let's just try. Nope, not enough. Let me mix up some paint here. There we go. There we are. So let me do here. So I've got angle here. You'll see how this stuff comes together. Angle there. And I'm going to make this just a little. There we go. She's got her hair up like that. There we go. And then going across for the shoulders. Yeah, what's interesting about her, she has a really interesting build. She's got a very, very long neck, and I was shocked to learn she was 5'6". She looks way shorter than that. So who knows? Maybe it was they were cheating her height a little bit. But this is, I think she plays Nance in that, but I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, super chat oh jeez, this is why they ask, honey. Cranberry Langers just sent a $14 super chat for soda, Dr. Pepper accounting for YouTube's take. Thank you, Cranberry Langers. You just made my wife laugh. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Here are your cheerleaders. Guys.
Charge! Charge!
You guys are incorrigible. You're incorrigible, I say. Oh my goodness. And so what I thought was really interesting about her is, and what I think is interesting about a lot of the gals from this era, is there was still this kind of lovely formality. And I always try to put that in to the stuff that I'm doing. I try to get a little bit of that with I try to paint when I can, ladies and gentlemen, for sure. And there's something about it to me that is really enjoyable about that time period and the way that stuff looks. And thank you, Cranberry Landers, again for that very generous super chat. Appreciate you so much. My first Springball comic. How can I get one? Okay, so the link in the description. Do you mean my first Springball comics, the one I did back in the day? But the Springball campaign is still live. There's a link in the description if you're talking about the ones that I've got that I'm making right now. And those are on Indiegogo at the moment. So you can click that link and get it there. And thank you so much for your support and for being interested. I appreciate it. Let me see. Is there a market for this specific art style? Yes. My accountant would say, I don't have an accountant, by the way. But Mrs. Ingetti would say there is, yes. And that is the real shocking thing about it. But just think about how things go, right? People, there's the market, and then there's what people will hire. And usually what happens is once you guys dictate you want something in the independent sphere, that's what moves the market to start supporting it. So the way to really tell if there's an audience for it is not to go to publishing houses, not to go to the usual, suspects for how we used to get our work out there, but is to go to the audience, go to the fans. And you guys are the ones, the true patrons of the arts who back this stuff and who show people that, yeah, there is an audience for this stuff. I think people have been starved for this stuff for a very, very long time. And you even see this on YouTube. How many of you guys follow channels where people just do something that they're good at, and you can sit back and there's this joy in watching people accomplish things? And I really do think it's sort of the better angels of human nature at play with that. And so you can see me just roughing in. I always start with angles. Yeah, Mrs. and Jay should get my right hand insured 100%, especially with the things I do. You looked thirsty, Sean. Thank you so much. Yes, zero sugar Dr. Pepper is actually really good. I know, I'm sure it is, but I'm a diehard Coca-Cola guy. I follow so many processed things. There's a guy called Four Keys Books who does really great stuff. And I love the way he approaches things. But it's the same thing. You see people's... If anybody ever wondered, is there an audience in Comicsgate? That's a really good example right there. What people think about Comicsgate's audience is there an audience for crochet work in Comicsgate? Yeah, there is, apparently. People get excited by things that they see that not everyone can do. That's the stuff that always excites me. And there's something to be said for that. There we go. Always get really... Gotta get used to the paint here. Once I get down enough paint, it flows better because the paper's had it all to drink. But it takes a little bit of time to get it flowing, and I just got to get a little bit more messy. And that's what I need to do. So here we go. And so Nan was her name. I think it wasn't Nance, it was Nan. I think. Someone could check me on that from City of the Dead. She really does not look like she's very tall. I mean, they said 5'6", which is my wife's height, but I don't think so. That or it's just her hair is gigantic. Don't know. And then... Yeah, people love that. It's funny. You guys know this as well as anybody, but people love that that formality. See? Surprisingly, there is. Absolutely. You never know. I always say the best thing about this, I can't drink Coca-Cola anymore too much. Yeah, I know. It can be rough, man. Fortunately, I don't have a stomach anymore, so I'm all set. But this is one of the things that I love about the whole sort of art thing and how we do stuff and what people react to, is that we'll be working on this stuff, and just because people say, oh, people aren't very formal today anymore, people don't do formal stuff anymore, doesn't mean people don't want formal stuff. And I think sometimes people get sort of suckered in by thinking that what everyone is doing is what you need to do. And I've been either too dumb, or, which I'll lean into 100% as being the cause, but I've always been the kind of person that liked things just because I liked them, and been not surprised when other people like them, whether it was old movies or, quote, old movies back in the day. Now old movies are the movies that were contemporary when I was growing up. And I just think that people are more interesting than... I don't know how to describe it. There's a lot more interesting people out there than people think, and sometimes people, when they see what they're missing, they know it instantly. And that's how it's always been for me. When I talk to people, when I see people, you'd be shocked at how amazing that can be. Women did boost their weight their height with their hair. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, and there are some at Curse Art Creations. Yes, there are. And hail, Timmy Mello, my artist brother's here. It's good to see you, man. How are you? Let me see here. And so now I'm going to go and start to put in this this lead leg. And all of this stuff is kind of just roughing it in. I'm being a little bit timid with it for whatever reason. Who knows? There's also the panning the head thing, which is always hard when you're painting. There we go. And then that leg goes out. And this leg goes out. And then that at the back of the knee. Here to the knee. And then that's going to go out to there. And then there. All right, now we can start to think about how we want to approach this once we start roughing things in. That's the fun part. So let's start roughing around and playing around with this. Let's have some fun. As the great Bob Ross would often say. So I'm going to mix up some color here, some value, and since we know that when it comes to things like skin tone, although there's a little bit of skin tone on it. It's a black and white photo, but I'm going to paint it in color, because I can probably guess what the local color was. But we're going to start to rough in with this brush the values, and here you go. That's how we're going to think about it. We're not going to worry about leaving anything. We're just going to rough in the shapes. I can always paint around it when I want to, if I need to clean stuff up and clean the edges up, but that's how I want to paint for you guys. I want to show you how to paint in a way where you're not worrying about painting outside the lines or any of that stuff. I'm going to show you how we're going to break this thing down in terms of color and value. And so now I'm going to move that out there. I'm always instantly more happy, by the way, when I'm painting like this and I'm roughing in the figure. And this is how people would do it. Yep, no mistakes, just happy accidents. Yeah, Bob Ross was the inspiration for Mrs. Ingetti going and becoming an artist, she says. That's why she wanted to go to art school. And I love Bob Ross's story, and the more I've learned about him through his the documentary on his son that was on Netflix, the more I've come to like the guy. He seems like he was every bit the good dude that people who knew him say that. They go, what a great guy he was. There we go. Rough that in. And then weather. And then let's see here. I'm going to take a little bit of white here. And just give myself a nice little edge right there where I can start to see some of the silhouette. I've always loved doing things like this. The illustrators of the day did this a lot, where they would just go in, they would paint out and then they would clean things up and work into it. And I love that. What's up, Admiral? How you doing, brother? Great to see you. Number 2 in the channel member credits. Holy cow. Cranberry Landers is saluting. Pastmaster Dan said, hey, Admiral Wackass. Craziness, man. Oh, my Lord. It's like old home week here. I've got all my people right here, right now, as Oasis would say. Let me see here. Have that. Goes in like that, and then I'm going to curve that around. There we go. And you see how when I'm doing this stuff, I'm just bringing it around, and I'm not over stressing about it. I can make that go in both directions. I don't have to worry. I'm not, married to like, oh, now I did that, I can't go back out if I want to. I absolutely can. And then we start talking about, well, we got to now start to address like where the head's going to be on here. Little tough to do, unfortunately, because I typically paint with my stuff in my lap. So, that makes it a little bit trickier for me to get the perspective right. But hopefully you guys will get a sense of what that is from this. Move this around, and then I need a ear. in there. Make sure we thin that out a little bit. She's got a very almost like swan-like neck. It's kind of amazing too, because her build is, again, I mean this in the nicest possible way, but her truly her build is really unique. Like, she is tiny to me. She looks super tiny, and I don't know what else to say about it. I heard Bob Ross first is an episode of Creep Show by by the Raimi brothers. There was a whole mess with the Necronomicon. Bob Ross. I'm shocked to learn he was a real person. Yeah, he is. He was real, although we can't believe him. Real, though we can't believe that he existed. He's an amazing, amazing man. And so let me see here. All right. Let's grab this. And then we're going to do... Neck goes up. And then... There we go. Chin. Angled like that. Can't see because there's a little bit of a glare for me from my angle. There. Ear is going to be right there. Hair is going to come a little bit forward there. Then that. And her hair kind of comes around. She's got like a short... Well, I don't know if it's short. I think it's just up is the main thing with her hair in this flick. So it's got a lot of, like, you know, volume above her ear. And then this all is going to come out like that. Comes around, and then this is going to curve over the face. And there's going to be... Put the eyes in. And eyebrows, eye sockets. Deal with that in a sec. Probably more than a sec. There we go. Starting to figure out where she's going to live. All right, and so now I'm going to start to play around a little bit with mapping in where some of the features of the figure are going to be. So I'm going to start playing around with where that arm is going to be. Coming into frame. And then it comes over. It's going to be way higher than I had it when I was sketching it in. Because like I said, she's not really that tall. There we go. And then grab a little bit more. And I'm going to go put in where this is. And then she's got on this... I don't even know what half this stuff is. Women's undergarments or something else back in the day. And whatever she's wearing, I have no idea exactly what it's called. So my apologies, chat, if you were looking to me for that kind of information. I do not have it. All right. So now, reassert that angle. We got a little too thick there with that, and I have to put in a little bit more for what's going on the other side of that arm there. And then there we go. Put that in, and then yeah, she is what they call a short stack. Timmy, you're cracking me up. I love this. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? It's a beautiful thing, past Master Dan. I love it. I love it. So now I've got this, and then this cuts like way up. That's like wild. Cuts up and over. And then there, and then this cuts over like that. Comes up over there. And then there we go. This is wild, man. I've never actually painted something like this before. I mean, I've painted figures, but usually my figures are not wearing this type of outfit, so it's kind of fun. And then it's got it's funny, it's got like a lace sort of thing, but then the sides are solid. There we go. Look at that. Arc cap. I'm going to have to make it vertical just to make sure I'm not doing that perspective thing where you paint. You can sometimes paint and things get really wonky because you're looking at it in perspective and then you stand it up. A little bit like Michelangelo's David. You know, it's like you paint it in perspective and then you stand the thing up and it's diabolically wrong. And that's a big thing that I ran into when I was a young student painting. Let me see here. Yeah, very Tinkerbell. Oh, wow. Timmy, you may have nailed it. You absolutely may have nailed it. I will bet you money. Not really, though. Because I was like, I don't know how we would prove that. I bet you anything this influenced Tinkerbell. Has to have. I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, this is totally what this is. You're right. Oh my gosh, you're totally right. Oh, wow. I never noticed that before, but that has got to be right. That is a trip, man. Now I can't unsee it, which I don't want to. That's awesome. Great call. Great call. So now we'll do our details here out to the side a little bit, and then we'll bring those around, and now we'll do the same. Come down there, there, and then we'll go, it's over a little more, always fix it, Lord knows, and then we'll bring that around. There we go. And then on the front, got to remind myself, on the front we're going to have, there's this like lace effect right in there. I'll make sure I make a note of it. And that's going to continue, it's going to go down, and then that's going to continue around right here. Continue around to the other side. So that's kind of what we're looking at for this one. And then that very same lace pattern is it goes all the way across the front of this thing too, but you can really see the little wrinkles and sort of ripples that are going to be there when you look at it like that. Let me see. Yeah, it's towers and towers of pancakes. Oh, so true, so true. It's always odd to me how painters paint by blocking it out first. My instincts are painters would paint down to the details first. Yeah, that's the thing that I used to think, and it's what made learning painting so difficult for me, is that I always used to try to get the details. I was so worried about the details that I didn't block in the form. And that is huge. It's the most important thing, and it's like, but I was so apprehensive. And by the way, I had teachers who said to me, hey, you got to pay attention to that. But I was just so hell-bent on, and so target fixated on detail, that I just could not let go of it. And there we go. That's where we're going to find that lead edge. And I can kind of start to see where I'm going to be moving stuff over. You know, in terms of like when I put the figure in, because like right now that leg is going to go back, and then that leg is going to be further back, and then this is going to be further back. So let me do a little bit of blocking there as I work this figure in, you know. Yeah, it's true. It is. It's a wild thing. It is a wild thing how that works with painters. So now I'm going to go in, I'm going to just reassert about where I want that edge to be. And I'm going to even sort of move some of the stuff out from there just so I can start to block it in. And that's another thing about this style of painting I like. Like, I actually think I lost some of the lean, because there's a big, like, she's really put her hip out on that side in the reference I have. So I've really got to reassert that a little bit more, because that's going to affect the way the leg goes down this side. Do you guys see what I mean? It's these are the little things I used to get so stressed out about, like, you know, going over something and changing things. But man, you gotta just, you know, lean into it and just focus on the painting. That's what I want to show you guys about gouache today. The biggest thing I hope you guys are seeing is that it's not something you have to live in panic of when you paint. If you need to change something, you can change it. And I think Bob was really good about that with oil paints, come to think of it. He was always showing people that it's like you didn't need to be afraid of the thing. You just had to look at it and just not worry. So let me see if I can bring that down a little bit more. Probably going to take me a minute to get the leans in here. And then that one like that. That one like that. That goes over there. Then there's, I want to make sure I get the height of the little ruffles things that are there. I'm just laughing thinking about, I worked in sales for a short bit, and there was this guy who came in when I was working at Northgate Mall in Chattanooga, and it was Christmas time, which is a heck of a time to be working in sales. And he came in, and I don't know if this guy didn't get the memo that this is not usually a good strategy for us, but this guy wanted to buy his girl jeans, which I would not wish on anybody trying to guess what kind of jeans their wife wears. But he comes up to me and he goes, "Yeah, I'm here to buy my wife jeans." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's great. Well, do you know, like, you know, what size she is? And by the way, if you know sizing with women's clothing, it's like it's ridiculous. You try to buy something for your girl, and it's like, I'm a 8, you know, they're letters or something. It's crazy. Like, and it's hard to figure out, you know, what the size is, where we just have waist and length for our pants and stuff like that." Anyway, he just looked over at me and he goes, "Man, she's got big old hips." And I just sort of looked at him. I was like, I don't know how to follow this up. I am at a loss, good man, for how to follow up after this. And I said, it's like, let me have one of the ladies here help you with your jean situation. So I decided to spread the love to some of my coworkers. I'm sure they appreciated it. I have no doubt that they appreciated it. There we go. This is the cool thing too. Like, I love doing this stuff on stream, because there's, you know, I'll look at it and the perspective will be off, or the figure will be off, and I'll go, okay, well, it's because I'm looking at it at a weird angle. I need to go and reestablish certain things. And when you guys watch me correct the stuff, you're seeing what it's really about. Yep. Just buy her underwear, and always in small, no matter what. Yes, right? Yeah, the best painters I've seen. Yeah, do the blocking in. Good, just making sure I got all this stuff. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you know, but I definitely think, hope her wife isn't, or what, your wife's friends or your girlfriend's friend isn't working there when you say she's got big old hips, because that might get back to her. People do talk, you know. People do talk. So she's got these, I guess she has a garter belt on. I remember watching the movie, and you know why the shot was in the movie. I mean, there's no reason for her to need to change into a ball gown, or sorry, a dress, a fancy dress, and walk through this particular outfit. But I remember thinking that has to be one of the most complicated things I've ever seen for an undergarment. It was really funny. And so here I am painting it. Heaven help me. There we go. And then that's where I get to get into the... And it's funny, too, because when you're working with gouache, there's a color shift thing that happens where you put down the paint, it looks dark, and then it shifts lighter. And a lot of different paints do that. Oils do it less than others. Acrylics don't do it very much. But with gouache, you really have to get used to that color shift. And so what's nice about that is, even when you think you're putting in dark values, you also will see that there's room to make things darker. So things don't get too dark and out of control. The thing that you want to protect when you're working with gouache is you want to make sure you're protecting your darks and your lights, because those are the things that you can get a bunch of middles but not get those highlights in there and not get those shadows. So you want to make sure that you're getting those in There we go. Then I want to have, there's this nice little sort of flare out thing that's occurring there before it goes up into the lean. There we go. And so we'll just get that little, we'll reestablish that edge a little bit right there. And like I said, there's things I'm noticing like about the arm and the shape of the tricep that's right there that I'm going to get to, but let me just try to give myself some clean lines to correct, frankly, later. It doesn't matter if this isn't to say this is it, this is, you know, how it's going to go. It's to say that if you don't have, if everything is too scribbly, it's hard to see how to fix it. So if I put in edges like this, even if I completely change them, even if they're wrong, it still allows me to know how wrong they are and where I need to move them. And it's, people would ask me all the time, like, about why don't more teachers do demos in front of their students? And I'd go, because it's nerve-wracking. Yeah, she'll know you think she's thin and petite 100%. Yeah, too many ways to go wrong. I love that. Shouldn't you add your darkest and lightest last as dark and light accents? It depends on how you do it. For me, I may, but then my work goes through a lot of different phases. So sometimes I do add those in last. Sometimes I find out I need to reestablish some middles when I get to the end of it, because you can oftentimes, as at least for me, another trap we can fall into is making things too contrasty and losing either the light middles or the dark middles. So the values that are like 80, 60, 70, we can sometimes lose those values. And so we have very, very dark, very, very light values. But it's almost like there's all these like pockets of value in the piece. And so it really depends on the artist. You'll start to see whenever you're looking at, teaching art students, which I did for, decades, you'll learn really quickly that different students will fall into different issues with value. And once you can point those out to them, and once they learn what those are, then they can really go really far with the stuff and they can make the corrections. But you'll be shocked at like how interesting it is when you see students, have just completely different obstacles with their work. And every now and again when I'm streaming, I'll have a student pop in, tag, on the road home now, hate missing these, I'm sorry, Mark's Music Obsession, but I'm glad to have you as a channel member and glad to have you in every single way back in the stuff, man. I appreciate you, brother. And drive safe, my friend, drive safe. So let me see here. So now I'm going to go in and just kind of look at how this stuff works. Oh, you know what? I'm going to move you guys closer. Hang on a second. What's up, Rachel Brinkley? How are you doing? I'm going to move you guys a little bit closer because I feel like I'm going to see if I can still paint around the camera if I do this. But I want to make sure you guys can see some of the things that are happening with the paint here. Hopefully you can. Let me see here. So I'm just going to start roughing some things in here. There we go. Just get a little bit of a highlight because she's got this interesting plane of light that's going to be on this side of her face right here. And I want to make sure that I'm like setting some stuff up for that with putting some darks on the other side. The ear is dark, and if this was in color, I can, because I've understand enough about light and painting. The ear is always going to be red because the light's going to pass through it. And that's a big one. It's a big thing to remember. And it's great to see you, Rachel Brinkley. How are you doing? So let me see here. So I will always go and try to put in a very saturated red for where light is going to pass through skin. And so it's why when you're painting figures, it's important to remember that flesh tone, generally speaking, is cooler where the skin reflects, where the highlights hit, and actually warmer in the shadows. Which is why when you see people who are painting students painting figures where the figures look dead, and they go, I can't figure out the flesh tones, it's because they're doing what seems intuitive, to do, which is to make the highlights be very warm. But the opposite is true. Opposite is true when it comes to skin tone, because the light's passing through the skin, so the shadow is almost like filtered through the skin, so it shows you the warmth, and then the highlights on the skin are reflective, and they show you where what kind of light is hitting the skin. Does that make sense? So it's not like a filter. It's pretty wild. Oh, crappy weather. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. There was some storms up here. It's been crazy. Sorry to hear that, Rachel Brinkley. And yes, indeed. And Cranberry Landra says, when the paint doesn't behave how you want it to, or it doesn't work out the way you want to the completion of the piece, do you write it off to the muse or fate, or where does the art come? You know what's interesting? The biggest part of the whole terminology is the work part of artwork. And I never really, it's rare I write off a piece, because I with paint you have a little bit more flexibility. With digital you have infinite flexibility. But I only write off a piece if I need to, just because I'm overworking it. And so I always say that most of the problems come from approaching it and not being present when you're doing it. So you weren't there when you started it, so getting more present as time goes on is not going to save the piece. And so that was a big thing that I kind of had to learn, was how to know when I'm not in the zone. Now, this is where the actual illustration part of it comes. This is the difference between artists and illustrators, and streamers for that matter. As Mike Tyson's coach said, Customato used to tell him, discipline is doing what you don't want to do as if you love it. So getting up for that morning run, or firing up a stream, all of that kind of stuff. That's why I think, and gosh, painting, writing, illustrating, painting an entire comic book, and not having it be a doubt in your mind that the thing is going to get done and it's going to get shipped, and like it's hard to describe, but it's just a mentality of, me kind of just the way I approach things, maybe, is just because there's attention to detail at every phase of this whole thing. And it's a wild experience. But Cranberry, you've been with me for a while. Yeah, agonizing pain. So is light like an enhancer. 100% it is. Yeah, smiling through agonizing pain is a way to go. I'm telling you, it really is. So the little things I say, or I do here, that you're going to see is, because I was talking about the shadows before, is I'm going to go in, and there's a very dark shadow underneath her chin, and because it's a cast shadow. So I'm going to make sure I do that with a really nice warm sort of red right in there, and then there's a little bit of it on the other side. And it's tough because in this photo it's a little bit blown out, so the light is actually kind of breaking. That's not enough water. The light is actually kind of breaking on the side of her face that's getting the light. And in a black and white photo, it's really easy to lose the values in there. So I'm just going to have to, do my best guess there. But that's where the light is, and then the hair is going to go up from there. And I probably lost too much of that ear there with that, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. All right, so now I've got this. I've got this, and remember this too, because you guys were seeing this with Samson Paul and stuff, but I want to show this again because I want to get this close for you guys. Let's let this dry for a second. Now it's auto focusing. I gotta see if I can get you guys the true color here. Okay, so there's the color, but let me see if I can show you guys. Do you guys see the streaks of the paint? All that stuff you're seeing in Samson Pollen stuff, that's the stuff that starts to happen with gouache, it's just cool. I used to try to chase that stuff away, and now I see it and I go, let's do it. What's up, Roxy and Chica? How are you doing? It's good to see you. So do you cope with all the wasted paint and effort painting something as botched? Is it all a frustration? Yeah, it is. And it's funny too, because everything we do, and I hate to sound like, actually I don't really hate to sound like it. I'm kind of cheesy that way. Everything we do is a part of that experience of learning. And if I'm looking at the subject and I'm learning something, then it's a valuable experience either way. And the more I paint, I used to get these little, nuggets of wisdom that were actually really useful, that people say, which is, every artist has about 10,000 terrible paintings in them, and the key is to get them out of the way. Well, there's some truth in that, in the sense that if you do 10,000 paintings and you're disciplined and you're studying and you're getting critiques on your stuff, which is really important, then you're going to get better. right? So you kind of write those off. But the trick is to not do those 10,000 paintings like they're going to be bad, but try to do good paintings. And because it's harder that way. And for me, that's a huge factor of everything when I'm thinking about the work. I'm going to zoom. I just realized I'm looking at this photo reference and I'm like, I can't even see some of the things I'm painting because I have it scaled so small. So let me show you guys a little bit of the craziness. Now, I should not even fool with any of the features in this, and they're gonna, no way I'm gonna get these at this angle, but we'll do it. We'll see what we can do here. And so I've got that there, that in there, and wow, her head is at a wild angle. This is not going to look right. The biggest problem with painting a figure when they're at an angle like this is you want to make it not angled because you want to make it feel balanced. And so you have to fight every step of the way. And I'm getting a bad reflection here too. Let me see if I can move my head through. So I'm basically looking through a ring light right now, trying to find this. But I'm going to just sort of rough that stuff in because I can adjust it. I can't even see this side of the face because of reflection, but I'll try to use highlights to see it. There we go. I can see some of the edges there. We'll just start to like rough in some of the forms so we can see the angle. There we go. And then a bit of a highlight there. And then bit of a highlight there, and it's a round highlight because of her jaw structure right there. She's got this little round highlight there, and then the ear, which I lost, gotta make sure I put that back in a little bit more just so the head's balanced. And what I'm seeing is I need to just reestablish what's going on with her hair because her hair is way, by comparison to what I've now done with the face, her hair is going to be a lot taller than that. So I'm going to start roughing that stuff in as well. So let me get a little bit of this here. There we go. And let's see here. And then I've got a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And then what is... Okay, let me zoom back out on this photo. As fun as that was, it was not getting me what I need. See, I usually work like this. I gotta turn this to sort of protect my wrist, but also just to get the angles I need. And so let me show you guys what I usually do to get lines. Because you've only got one or two ways that your arm can work and be steady. So what you're going to do with your artwork is you're going to work it sort of like a potter's wheel, as my mentor Brian Stelfreeze used to say. And so it's such good advice. I think he was quoting Scott Williams when he used to say that too, because Scott Williams, I guess, was the person that he said was one of the finest inkers he ever saw and ever encountered. But yeah, you can sort of see how it's easier when you rough things in like that and you turn the paper a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Now, just want to put some notation out. There we go. And then a little bit of shadow on that side. And then here we go. And now you start to muck about with the figure here. And then I gotta move this. There we go. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's always wild to paint in front of people because it's not, as you can imagine, it's not something you ever imagined when you were growing up pre-YouTube. You never thought you would have essentially a show where people would come into your studio. So it worked well to my introversion. But I like to do this kind of stuff because honestly, if I can, I always say that if I can get over the fact that I am an introvert and I don't typically work in front of people, I think it's the thing that I do that is going to probably help people relax and just sort of sit back. Like, I can be stressed out while I'm doing this, but you guys can sit back and kind of watch the madness of it all. Now I'm going to show you more crazy tricks from the trade now that I'm like working. So I'm going to measure that. And I'm going to just move that out a little bit more because I want to make sure I start thinking about that arm. There we go. And then move that over. And then bring that around. So there's a shadow here that I'm going to start putting because her arm is up. It's a very crazy pose. And I want to make sure I start to assert that a little bit more. There we go. And then highlight there. And I'll start putting some white on the ground there. And thank you so much, Cranberry Langers. What piece you didn't like when you were younger but learned to appreciate? Oh, wow, that's crazy. That's a great question. Wow. Let me think on that. The thing that I appreciate, I think I just appreciate the work ethic because when I was younger, I was doing things that I was always frustrated about what I was not able to do. And so I was frustrated because I was like, I was 12 and I'm like, I can't believe I can't get hired by Marvel Comics. What the heck is going on? You know, that kind of stuff. Like I need to get better. But now that I'm older, I look back on things like the comic I did when I was 14 and I think I was 14 years old and I created a whole comic book, printed out the lettering on my word processor, and like I'm amazed at how hard I was working when I was younger. So I think that's the main thing. But you guys probably teach me more appreciation for that stuff than I'm able to do. Like everyone, you guys' reaction to Springball was me looking back at something from the past and seeing it in a new light, and I owe that to you guys. I mean, that's a huge part of that because it was not something I ever thought I was going to come back to until, you know, you guys looked at it. So I'd say that's probably the biggest one is Springball because I looked at it and I kind of had fresh eyes on it. I was so much younger when I did the first book, and so I mean, I just had, you know, so much wrapped up in it, and was really had high hopes for it. But then my skills and, you know, my knowledge base for doing that was just not where I wanted it to, or where I needed it to be to make it what it is. But then you guys come along and you're like, all right, let's go. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could do something with this. Here we go. And let's see here. Got that. And so her arm that's tough. So she's in this pose to where her tricep is a little bit, is coming out like this, but then her back is also there. So that's a little bit of a tricky pose. And I want to make sure I get the gist of that. So let me just do a little curve here, just so I can sort of see where that arm is going to go. And then when your water level goes down, one of the biggest things that can happen is you get used to the water height when you start, and then when the water level goes down, you go to dip your brush in the water and hit your paint, and you realize you didn't grab enough paint. That's a big thing I run into sometimes. And then you rotate this over. Put that in. And then grab some white and knock that back out, because that is where I want that arm to move to. I want to move that arm up. So there we go. And let's see what else we've got here. This explains the discovered paintings under paintings from the Picasso, Michelangelo, etc. This process really explains how they. Yeah, I mean, this is the crazy thing about it. I find paint to be, it's difficult to get comfortable with, but in a lot of ways it changes. It's different than drawing because it changes the way you see things. It's not additive, process, or like inking is, or a subtractive process in many ways, like scratchboard is, or something like that. It's its own. You're kind of doing both at the same time, and you can move it backwards and forwards. The thing is to know when to stop and how you're going to, begin with the end in mind, as my wife likes to say. And that's it for me. It's like when I have reference like this, it's great because it sort of shows me what the end goal is in terms of like how this stuff comes together. So let's see here. I've got some pattern there for that, and then I'm going to have a edge right there, and then there's more of that above the line. So that's going to be the trick for me in terms of this, is making sure I also get where that stuff is happening above the line. So I'm going to start to lighten this up a little bit, and then I'm going to have, gosh, I tell you what, women's undergarments back in the day were quite architectural, for lack of a better way of putting it. My goodness. I mean, this thing looks like it's all wire. Man. Just looking at like the architectural angles on this thing, it's crazy. Alrighty, so now let me grab some dark paint, and then I'm going to go get a little bit more. There's the angles here for the form of it. And then a little bit more in there. There we go. She's coming together. Let me see. Yeah, there weren't really designed by women back those days. It was mostly men. Yeah, there was. I love that quote in the still exists, women just don't buy them anymore. Yeah, it's true. Well, actually, I think they've seemed to come back everywhere I look, which is wild. I see that stuff and I go, oh, that's interesting. You never know what people are going to want to put on, I guess. Certainly true. And so you can see here with gouache, can't overstate this. You can see here with gouache, I am working over dark I just put down. So it is not a situation to where if you go and you put down something dark, it's over. You can always go in and light those things up. What's up, Glass Machine? How are you doing, brother? Great to see you, man. So glad you could make it. Hail, man. Yeah, mullets are 100%. You can't keep a mullet down, I tell you, folks. You can't keep a mullet down. Yeah, my son's generation is really, really bonded with the mullet. He came home and he says, it's the perfect haircut. I'm like, clearly a chip off the old block. There's no getting around it. There's no getting around it. He's definitely my son. Let me see here. There we go. Now she's starting to come together. Okay, so now I want to make sure I go in and start to put some more of the edges I wanted to do here. So that's up. I tell you what, the hardest thing about this photo is that she's in a pose to where her anatomy looks completely insane. It doesn't look right. And it's both the cut of the fabric and it's the pose she's in. I really can't believe what I'm looking at right here. And I'm not going to show it to you. It's like, oh my God, it's nuts. I'm like, how is that? Amazing. That's all I'll say. People put people in poses not thinking someone's going to have to paint it one day. That's for sure. So let's see here. Get that in there. Get a little bit of highlight going on. And then there's a highlight there for the trap collarbone. I mean, that just doesn't even look. I mean, it's the lighting setup for this is nuts. Clearly, the studio lighting was crazy, next level. There we go. We'll just knock that back a little bit. And then I'll sort that when I get to it. Lay this down for a second. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Yeah, probably also had a cord. Yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's wild stuff. It's quite comfy to wear if it helps you keep your back. Yeah, I bet it does. I mean, my posture is diabolical. So, only move this over. I'm getting a Tinker. Yes, it's absolutely. Everybody's been saying that. They go, this looks like Tinkerbell. This looks like this was referenced for Tinkerbell. And I'm not going to disagree. I think that Timmy Mello was spot on. I think it was Timmy Mello who said that there was a Tinkerbell vibe, but correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Eyes. And now I want to start getting this face a little bit more under control. So let me see here. Let me see. Yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I forget. Is the artist of that? His name is Araki, A-R-A-K-I. Am I correct? I'm painting spelling and trying to recall memory at the same time, so there's no guarantee that that is correct. So, there we go. There we go. And then, yeah, I wonder what was going on with the shadows in here, because she has a really interesting shadow on her nose right there. Let me get the shadow underneath, because that'll make it a little bit easier. Yeah, she's missing the wings and the wand. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it was Timmy Mello who said it. I thought it was Timmy who said it. Thank you, Cranberry Langers. Yeah, Rocky. There you go. Yeah, I thought it was Timmy Mello who said it. If I know Timmy, and I think I do. Yeah, that was a great catch by Timmy. 100%. So, let's see here. Now I'm going to go in and start fiddling around with both the bridge of the nose and then the shadow, so I can go in and start to play around with how that stuff comes together. Then there we go. Get a little bit, but it's still the biggest thing that and I don't want to use a pencil. That's a big thing about painting. I always say to people is fight using a pencil to correct things, because it'll help you to learn how to draw with your brush, which is really important. It saves time. That's what a lot of the artists back in the day had, is they would sketch with the brush. They would rough things out in pencil. But what I'm having trouble with right here is getting the angle of the head lean right. And by that I mean that, let me just flip this upside down so I can do some correction work here, just so I can get the hand control where I need it to be. There we go. But the biggest thing that I'm running into with this is getting that angle, because the angle goes in for the brow. I need more water in here. My paints are dry. There must be, maybe I'm drying out my paints or something, but I need that nice little angle in there for the face. That's the biggest thing. And then I need to move this eye over, because it's over too far to the other side. There we go. I'm going to try to really radically move things over. Even if I move them over too far, it's better than leaving them where they are. Because sometimes you have to kind of force yourself to move stuff to get it where it needs to go. There we go. And then she has that chin. And then we'll deal with that eye socket in a second. There we go. So everything kind of needs to be moved down and over a bit more. There we go. I'm just going to kind of keep pushing things around. Thank you so much, Big Boy Burgers. How are you doing? It's great to see you. And there we go. Looking good, Brother Sean. Mark's Music Obsession. Look at you guys in the house. A lot of mangaka use a lot of their referencing from magazine material, 100%, other sources around them. They love to borrow from each other. Comic Books in Cahoots. No Mouth. So she... and Hag says, Grey Wolf Graphics. Yeah, to be brought up first. I was agreeing with him. Oh, yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I know that Araki, who we were talking about for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I watched him do a time-lapse piece. And the time-lapse piece, he was working on it with Michelangelo sculpture books next to him, because that's his biggest influence for his crazy figures and the weird contrapposto stuff he does. There we go. Now that's starting to work together a little bit better. And then the mouth. So let me see here. And I want to make sure, the biggest trick for me when I'm painting this small is I want to make sure I position the mouth up high enough so that her chin is there. Because that's a really big problem when you're painting faces. Most of the time, the smaller you're painting a figure, the easier it is to just start making the head bigger and bigger to fit the features on it. Particularly if you're like me and you really like expressions on people, you can get to the point to where the heads of your figure get way too big because you're trying to get that detail in the face in. There we go. Just get a little bit of value in there to anchor things a bit. And the whole thing is going to be a little bit darker than that. I want to move whatever I was doing with the shadow over there. So let me just push that over ever so slightly. There we go. And then a bit of highlight over there. Okay. And every now and again I'll do a really fun mark to get an angle, and then I'll paint right outside of the silhouette, which is what I did there. I have to go in and correct that to the best of my ability. There we go. All right, so now let me see what I want to do next. I want one more warm note just in there so I have the color setting up for me. That's starting to be a little bit better in terms of the overall quality of the face. Sorry for the reflection, guys. It's just it's the nature of the camera and the light here. Let's see if I can... There we go. Getting a little bit better there. Let me see here. Any more new comments? Yes, Araki was referenced everywhere. Yes, absolutely. I feel frustrated in the lines and shapes were correct, but the face too light and dark. Yes, you're absolutely right. Maybe she was a fairy. That's right. It was an adopter of the Cirque du Soleil body positioning. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there's some. I have some great. That might be something fun for us to look at. But yeah, the Cirque du Soleil costumes were absolutely huge for me in terms of. Became an influence for a while on my character design because they do great costume stuff. Really cool stuff. There we go. And now I'm going to put... See, sometimes you can put water down with gouache and then use it to pull things up. And so I'm just pulling up some value right there I didn't want. There we go. Then... that edge on the hairline there, just so I have it. There we go. I'm going to come back and put those highlights in. Once I got to get the form, the shadows roughed in just so I can see the rest of what's going on. It's more important for me to get the value than it is to get everything perfect there. All right, so let me see. All this really got me curious who they used as a model for Tinkerbell. Yes, Margaret Carey was the model. Yes, they did. They did some rotoscoping for that, if I'm not mistaken. And really was astoundingly great stuff. I mean, that kind of animation was just ahead of its time. I was talking with my son about Walt Disney just the other day. Was talking about what all of his philosophies about family and all of that kind of stuff. Really a huge influence on me in my life was his creativity, his work, and also his attitude about the importance of people, which is critical. There we go. Rough that in, just so I have some of those marks in there. Because I want to make sure I assert that angle as well as I can. All right, so now let me go and take a look at, good old-fashioned Technicolor cell shading. That was incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Okay, so I want to make sure I get the eyes, or the arc of the eyes in there where I want them to be. I want to move that over just a little bit. There we go. And then goes up. That goes up. There we go. That's where I'm going to place things. Okay, that makes sense. Now let me just see here. Makes me sad how far off brand. Yeah, Disney has come crazy expensive. Well, yeah, that's another factor there, and a really good point. Yeah, they have taken things to that level to where it gets to be cost prohibitive, which is unfortunate. But I just think that what made their stuff so good, oh man, the joys of arthritis. What made their stuff so good was the structure in it. Really good structure. All right, so now let me build out some areas around it here. Put in a little bit more shadow there. Oh, I just realized my reference isn't in front of me. Where is it? And move this over. And then, can I? Nope. There we go. So let me see here. So this. Get a shadow in there, which is going to be redder. And then let me just get a little bit of a note for that. And then a little bit of a note for that going in the other direction. And then there's this kind of core shadow that's running down the center of that. I'll make sure I get that in there. And then on the other side, it's a similar kind of vibe. Get that angle. There we go. There we are. And now I'm going to go and put the silhouette, which I kind of lost there just a little bit, but I just want to put some highlights around there. There we go. And then we'll go and we'll build this out. Start to get like kind of that highlight silhouette I want around it, because I like to do lighter silhouettes. Oh my gosh, a super chat from General Piggy. Where have you been, my friend? It's great to see you. Hey, any updates on the artist edition? So Nosfero is, they gave me the date of June 6th when it's going to press. And I am going to be reaching out to them on Monday because it's been approved, the color. General Piggy, I haven't seen you in ages. Have you seen the artist, the what do you call it, the proofs? Let me show those to you. Holy cow, I just realized. I don't know, General Piggy, if you've seen the proofs for this. This is the proof for the art edition. Wait, let me get you some cheerleaders first, and I'm going to come back and show this. Hang on a second. General Piggy, welcome!
Charge! Charge!
It's been ages, man. So here is the art edition. I was just talking about it on stream right before you got here, for those of you guys who haven't seen this stuff. And it doesn't seem long ago, but it has been long. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Look at this stuff. So this is the art edition. It is proofed. It is ready to rock. And they're printing it. But this is them. They printed it on the machine they're going to print the final on. So this is what the colors are going to look like when you guys get this. So it is beautiful. So I paid extra. I always do this to have them proof it. Otherwise, it's just the page organization when you get a proof. But I paid them extra so I could have it printed on the machine, which took extra setup time because they actually have to set up the printers, color code them to show you exactly what it's going to look like. And so these are the detail spots that are unique to the artist edition. And General Piggy, you just put a big smile on my face seeing you here. That's great to see you here, man. I haven't seen... Whoop, can't show that page. I haven't... yeah, diaphanous sighting and even more so. And even more so. But yeah, here are the spreads from the book. And it's gonna look beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. So yeah, you guys are gonna dig it. It's great to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Let me see here. So, oh, that's great. It's always great to see people I haven't seen in ages. Okay, so now let me figure out what I'm doing here. Yes, indeed, Mark, I see it. Nosfero. Indeed. Cannot wait to get that thing in the mail. Oh, and I can't show them to you because they have my address on them. But because I'm sending out so much art and, from the auctions and things like that, I sent out, I ordered some return address labels with my address on them so I don't have to write it out every time. And they are on brand. They've got the Shanthan Jetty art icon on them and then the address. So that's me. That's part of me prepping for all this stuff. It also seems like they want faster turnaround, than Hand Drawn was giving them. They're all about the mass production and not the quality, unfortunately. Yeah, I think I saw nothing, says Timmy Mellows. Yeah, absolutely, Timmy. You know. It got out of hand. It just got out of hand for a second. But then we were looking at, because we were looking at, Samson Pollen, I think I got overconfident in my book showing. Oh, yeah, here we go. Finally. The light is shifting a bit. Let's make it a little bit easier. And then, this is so tiny, guys. This is like, you guys can see my hand scale to this, but lordy be. Is like painting on a postage stamp. There we go. And now, I feel like that, for me, my favorite part when you were talking to me before, Mark, about do you go into the detail and blocking things in, you're absolutely right, but here's where I will break the rule I even put out there. Whenever I start a painting, if I'm working on a face or there's a painting that has a face in it that's of emotional importance, which is most panels you paint in comics, I always begin with one of the eyes because eyes are so important to me. What is up? Is it Christar or Christar? Or I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong because I want to say Christar like Crystal Burgers for some reason, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's crazy, the scale on that. It's crazy. But you know what's funny is those classics, Cursed Art Creations. I know you know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. But those classics continue to make money, and I think they sort of stopped seeing them as an investment because I still see kids who are are obsessed with things like The Lion King and those movies that were made during their second renaissance. But to be sure, I mean, I've got in my studio, I've got an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, I've got a Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I even got this recently, which was a Christmas ornament that I converted just by taking the screw out of the top of the beautiful Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman. This was released this past year because I love the designs that Mary Blair did, who also painted in watercolor and gouache. Just an incredible artist. Mary Blair, what a legend. I actually introduced generations of students when I was teaching to the work of Mary Blair. And when Disney was such a bad word to say on campus, I said, no, we don't want people drawing, big-eyed Disney like we don't want them drawing big-eyed manga. It's not about fan art, but let's introduce them to the artists in every art form who were exceptional and great. That's what you want them to learn from those things. And so many years ago, and I'm sure you can still find it online, there was a Google Doodle for Mary Blair, and it was done by one of my students. So my students were doing a lot of those Google Doodles. So the Winsor McCay one was inspired by I introduced my students to Winsor McCay, and that's why they were doing that one. And the Mary Blair one, I mean, all that stuff was because of students who passed through my classroom and me, talking about the importance of that stuff. It was pretty crazy. That's how that stuff works. Yeah, the Headless Horseman's awesome. What a great design. Yeah, completely agree. Classics will always be loved, 100%. Yeah, there's just so many great stories and things that come out of that, people's fond memories of those great stories. And that is truly priceless. And that's what they're leaning back into now. More and more you see people starting to kind of try to gradually course correct. But it takes some doing, because once you lose the people who understand what was behind all that stuff, it's really hard to get it back. It's really hard to get it back, especially because the competition is buying up a lot of those people, hiring them away, like some of the concept sculptors that were Imagineers, all that stuff. You see where they're having trouble finding now talent who want to come back because they were doing great stuff for years. And things like that are really hard to reconstitute. Yeah, now I feel like it's funny, regardless of... yeah, that is pretty crazy, isn't it? I think about that sometimes, but it's I could do a whole show. Maybe I'll do one of these Comics and Curios Inside the Studio of things people have no idea I influenced and was involved in, or just directly involved in. It would crack you guys up. I remember some young kid said to me, they go, if you're involved in all this stuff, how is it possible? Like, these people talk about you and mention your name in Gnomon Workshop videos, or they give lectures and they talk about your stuff. How is it that, more people don't know this? And I said, the same way Brian Stelfreeze pulls it off. He's one of my heroes, which is he's really good at not drawing attention to himself because he's an introvert. And once you start looking for him, you see him everywhere. But it's like, thank you so much, Comic Books and Cahoots. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. It's so wild to work in front of you guys on something so small and detailed, but it's I love doing this kind of stuff because that's what these Sundays are for. That's what Comics and Curios are Inside the Studio is about. I don't always paint. Sometimes I show books. Sometimes I show this, and it's just whatever is going on. But when we were looking at that Samson Pollen book, it just occurred to me that I should show you guys a little bit about the rough sort of scratchiness that gouache allows. And actually, probably the biggest mistake I've been making this whole stream, and I just realized it because I was frantic to get the stream started and to keep on a schedule, and I'll be doing another stream during the week. I want to do something in the afternoon where I paint and that people could just kind of come back to chill streams. But I've been using a small brush, which is such a bad idea when you're trying to paint. Look at the difference. So much of why the painting has been feeling stiff is because I never switched back to my big brush, which is how you gotta paint. I'm like, why is this... Man, I tell you what, I'd forget my head if it wasn't attached to me. But it's like, you see the difference in terms of how this works when I'm using a bigger bus. I think that the saying is silently influential. Yeah, you know what was funny is early on in Comicsgate, I used to laugh when people learned that I had done like almost all of the Comicsgate King's intro and even the show intro back in the day, and they were just like, "You did what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I know it was set on stream, but it was like Graham's intro to his show where the eagle lands on him was something I hand animated frame by frame using a video footage of an eagle, then brought it into Photoshop, erased out the background. I mean, that was incredibly time consuming. And that was all the stuff I was doing behind the scenes people weren't knowing about. And on top of everything else I was doing. It was so nuts. But I've always been that way. Don't know how else to, I don't know how else to be. So this is the way we do it. Yeah, limit yourself in taking just one. Yeah, man, it's so funny too because this is so fun. This is why I haven't been feeling like as in the zone. It's because I've been using the wrong brush the whole time. Let that be a lesson. Having one of those senior moments. It's because small brushes make problems. Big brushes fix problems. Because they hold more paint. So you just get more paint and you get more coverage. Whereas I'm having to go back and forth to the water over and over again. I'm like, what is going on? And it's like, oh yeah, that's why. Because I've got my headquarters where my hindquarters ought to be, as they say. Well, you live and learn. Or in my case, just live, probably. Well, apparently I'm not learning. There we go. There we go. Do you see what I mean? This is what it's about. This is what I want to make sure I'm always showing you guys. That's what I'm talking about. Now we're getting there. Now we're cooking. Yeah, William Alexander with his big brush for everything. Yeah, William Alexander and Bob. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Trust me, guys. 100% true. And thank you guys for being here. If you haven't hit the like, you guys have been crushing it on the likes, actually. But if you haven't, make sure you do. If you're not subscribed, make sure you are. I'm going to be doing weekly shows called The Horror of Painting. And it's basically I just sit down. It's chill. There's one up. So if you want to see if it fickles your tancy, you can check it out. Where I'm basically just there painting with some low music on, not as interactive with the chat, but interactive nonetheless. But just giving you guys a look at what it's like when I'm painting and working on stuff. I did a painting, which I'm going to be wrapping up soon too, but I did a painting of sketching out in gouache, this painting of the Chenoo. That was a fun thing I'm doing. I'm still working on it, but I was exploring sort of the... oh gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Basil Gogo's crazy color attitude with things. And then you've got what I'm doing here, which is something very different, but still very much the same. So let's see here. Oh, big brushes. Where have you been, big brush? You were right next to me, and I forgot to use you. There we go. Highlights. There we go. I can't believe I was trying to do this stuff with a small brush and did not pick up on that. Goes to show you, man. Ugh, painful. Because you get all these things that you can't do with a small brush. Because it holds paint in it, and then it allows you to blend over distances, which I could not figure out why that wasn't working. Because it's I was using the wrong brush. Little things like you could do so much with those big brushes that you can't do otherwise. And she's a platinum blonde, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do with that. And I'll definitely be coming back to this because we're getting up on time. But just you can see the difference in terms of what you can get done. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. There we go. Now we're getting there. Monsters and a Maiden, 100% right. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I'm all about. Yeah, see? Mark's Music Obsession. Yeah, I was having so much fun. Isn't that crazy how much it looks cleaner and it starts to tie together? Guys, using big brushes, that is 100% the painting key. And even when you're thinking about things like detail, the ability to make a detail work, as I just put in a little dab right there for the nose with the big brush, it already feels better. It just feels right because I can get the energy into it. That's what it needed. Dang it. I tell you, I love doing this stuff on stream with you guys. You okay? Oh, with our bunnies? Sorry, all right, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret here. Those of you guys who are still here after all this time, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, okay? Are you guys ready? No one's going to hear this who missed this. You guys can spread it, all right? But we have a bunny who is having her babies in our garden, and my wife is bunny obsessed. My wife and daughter. My daughter's first word was bundi, like loves bunnies, okay? So we're being real here, guys. And my wife was so excited, she ordered, I can't believe this. I'm sharing this with you guys here in confidence. We can't let this get out to the internet. She ordered a trail cam that she could set up so she could see the bunnies. And she is just like over the moon. So I just heard her excitedly calling to our daughter. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, it's now a bunny garden, we've come to realize. So yeah, we have a... That's what it's become. Absolutely true. Do you know what I'm saying? So she is beyond excited because we did have baby bunnies in there 1 year, and then she's been hoping they would come back. But I'm telling you what, guys, the kind of nature you see when you've got cameras set up around is pretty amazing. And if you're one of those people who's fascinated by that kind of stuff, well worth the doing. Oh, look at that. So much easier to get a line now. Oh, God, I could just kick myself here. So, yeah, so I just heard my wife excitedly shouting for my daughter, so I knew what was happening. And now I'm going to go in and make that line of demarcation. Oh, way easier. Way easier. Oh, I cannot wait to get after this now with a big brush because it's just going to look so much better. Oh, the bunny is still having babies. She's going to be cranking for it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, hair-raising. Indeed, I love that. The chat is so good. Wascally Wappets. Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff, guys. If you're like us and you still got a lot of country in you, and that's how we are. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, when we first moved to Tennessee, there were cattle from Spangler Farm, which was against our property there. We shared a property line with Spangler Farm. And there were cattle in our backyard. They just crossed the street. God bless them. I don't know how they did that. Not that street in Chattanooga. The hills have some of the worst blind turns you can ever see. And I'll tell you one thing: you don't ever park your car without putting that e-brake on, because your car might not be where you left it. But yeah, she's been so excited when we go hiking. She loves to see wildlife. We have wild turkey who live around here. It's just the best. And I'm a big John, gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Audubon. Why am I blanking on his first? Is it John James Audubon, or am I thinking of John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt? But I love Audubon's work. Oh, can you guys see that? Make sure I do that on camera. There we go. Then, now she's... why wasn't I using a big brush from the start, guys? I blame myself. Yeah, sounds adorable. Yeah, they are adorable. I'm not allowed to live in nature-y areas. I would try to be snow... Yeah, see, there you go. You'd start singing, and then they'd come in the house, and they shouldn't be cleaning dishes. I was 5 feet from a white-tailed deer having morning... Wow, on my back porch. We just looked at each other for a couple of minutes. And he was like, you got a light? Now, that would have been awesome. Yeah, but I'll tell you this. You only need to learn once, and I knew this beforehand, that turkey contrary to what you may think, don't want to be your friend. Every now and again, you'll see someone learn that lesson of approaching a turkey that's not in the mood, which is almost all the time. Turkey and swan are not trying to hang out with you, is one of the things I learned. Yeah, gosh, it's just crushing me, man. The big brush. I was using the wrong brush, killing me. I've heard of Spangler Farm. Wasn't that off Ganstor outside of Hickson? Yep, it sure was. I lived off of Ganstor Road. I lived on a road called Fairview Road, right off of Ganstor. 100%. Yeah, you know your terrain. Spangler Farm off of Ganstor Road. And that was the road I took to walk to my friend Zach Cullis's house. Great guy. And he was the guy who introduced me to Ninja Turtles and took me to a comic shop with his older brother Eddie the first time. Those guys, man. Like, it's funny to think of the things I was being introduced to and I didn't know it. So they introduced me to this game I didn't understand. I didn't play it, but they were like, going, there's this game we're playing. It's called Call of Cthulhu. And I was like, huh. Don't know what that is. And then I go off to college in a college that is mentioned in Call of Cthulhu. It's the freaking ridiculous. You can't make this stuff up. It is ridiculous. What are, like, the crazy chances that some of this stuff would line up? Just nuts. There we go. Now she's coming together, all because of my brush idiocy. Yeah, a wild turkey will mess you up. They have spurs. If those things kick you, yeah, those and Arctic lemmings, 100%. Yeah, and I see it right here, and I agree. Nope, turkeys are ales, from what I hear. Yes, they are. And by the way, they will follow you for a while. That was some rough country back in the day. It was then, yeah. I went to Tennessee Temple University back then. No kidding, yeah. The street I grew up on ran onto the main Fairview Road. Oh, wow, that is a trip, yeah. Can't blame the turkeys for being pissed most of the time. Every year, husbands, that's so true. Every year, humans devote an entire holiday to eating them. Well, here's the thing I learned from watching a documentary on turkeys called My Life as a Turkey. And he learned when a male turkey he was raising decided it was not his kid anymore. But I learned that he said that the wild turkey is as different from what we eat on Thanksgiving as because there's not nearly as much meat, not nearly of all that stuff they're grown, as cattle are from buffalo, which I thought was, or bison. I was like, wow. I thought that was amazing. But we used to watch, I know this might seem counterintuitive, but we used to watch this documentary called My Life as a Turkey every year for Thanksgiving. And it became a tradition. And it's about a guy who got turkey to imprint on him. He also did some work with deer as well, and he raised them from the egg. Really amazing guy. But he was like a Bob Ross guy in this documentary, and I really liked it. He said this line that I quoted today. He said, "The thing I learned raising these turkeys." Yes, you know this. That is fantastic. You have me hooked on. Yes, Holly Morocco is great. Absolutely great. Love Something Wild. Love her. Was happy to support her campaign for the habitat she's building. That woman is a saint. That woman is a saint. If you love animals and you want to see somebody who does not sleep, let me tell you this. Put some ones in the chat. Do we have any dog lovers in the chat? I mean, because I know some people are cat lovers, some people are this lovers, but do we have any people who are obsessed with dogs in the chat? Finish the quote. Oh, yes, I will. Sorry, Amoral Fat 40 Ounce. Thank you for keeping me honest. The quote was, when you spend time with the turkey, you realize that all a turkey is thinking about is the dangers that are around them right then and there. The food that's in front of them, right? Where the other turkey are when it's time to roost. And he goes, because the turkey is always present. And he goes, and one of the things I realized being around and raising these baby turkey was that so much of life, what we as human beings make the mistake of doing is we betray the moment. We make conscious decisions to betray the moment that we're in instead of being fully present with the people that we're with in that moment and in the place we're in. And I thought that is the greatest thing in the world. Oh, I am a dog whisperer, then you'll appreciate this. We got some dog people. We got a half from Cranberry Langers. Okay, we got some ones in the chat. Okay, I see them. So this is the thing for me about it. So Holly, she rehabilitates beavers. She's rehabilitating 4 kits right now. One lost an eye. It was attacked by a river otter, and she's nursed that thing back to health. Well, Holly had a gigantic poodle show up at her place, and it just showed up like, somebody please save me, take care of me. And I've never seen an animal that malnourished and underweight. Ever. It was skin and bones. I mean, literally skin and bones. And she nursed that dog back to health. And it is so happy now. It runs around so happy on her farm. But she had to slowly introduce it to food. So she was introducing it to water and a little food. Because she goes, if I give this dog food too fast, it's going to have a heart attack. Like, it's not going to be able to do it. It's too starved. And it's too dehydrated. It's too sick. This woman is a saint. She takes care of so many animals and nurses them back. It's like a zoo on her property. And she just goes around. She's also a teacher at Mississippi State, I think, as well. And Holly is awesome. Love her channel. Yeah. And she talked about something I had never even known was possible. And what she talked about was that when she rescued these kits, what was going on was they had a den. Their mother was killed, I think. And then they were being attacked by river otters. And this blew my mind because I had never heard of this before. But inside this little drainage pipe that they were in was a cottonmouth, okay? And the cottonmouth had no interest in eating them or hurting them and was keeping the river otter at bay. So in this bizarre twist of nature, the cottonmouth ended up protecting the baby beavers. I never heard of that, but that's what people who are walking around out in the woods and spending time out in nature, they'll see things, especially if she's a specialist with marine mammals, so she's been all over the place and done. She used to work at SeaWorld. She worked up in Alaska, I believe, with walrus, which is got to be a dangerous occupation. And she's just an amazing human being. And we reached out to her. I actually did a little trailer for her when she was doing a fundraiser. It's not all comic book trailers, but most of the ways I meet people is, funny enough, is just reaching out when I see people who need help or need support. And you guys know how that goes. I mean, I've never looked back on any instances of that and thought, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's always a good thing. And so seeing someone as incredible as her and big-hearted as her really puts things into context, because she's just on a whole different level. It's got to be hard to take care of animals and lose animals and things like that when you're rehabilitating animals. And she's a special lady. That's don't trust. Oh, no doubt. That's the first thing I learned to fear when we moved down to Tennessee was the water moccasin. Let me tell you. Yeah, isn't that amazing? I would have never thought that was a thing. You know, I never would have thought that was a thing. Well, yeah, that otter wasn't going to mess with those kids. Yeah, it wounded the kits. One of them lost half its whiskers on one side. I mean, it was crazy. I would have found her. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Pity Ma. Yeah, really life-affirming, beautiful stuff. Yeah, people say snakes don't have feelings or care, but I like to believe they most definitely do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's you guys know, if you've ever had a pet, it's funny when people think of pets as being all the same or animals as being all the same, but people who spend any amount of time around wildlife know for a fact that there's different temperament, there's different, social situations with the animals inside of a herd. My favorite animal is the American bison. I just think it's such a great symbol of our country, and I love the animal to death. And it's the American rhinoceros, really. But those animals are just so majestic. I don't know why tourists come to this country to pet them. I haven't figured that part out yet. But because they don't want to be pet, folks. They really don't. It's not something that they're about. It's like, oh my God. Ugh. Too funny. go. Yeah, big brushes, man. That's the way to go. 100% the way to go. Just realized I need to raise that arm up and put it where it needs to be. Look at how it's, I mean, it practically looks like Photoshop. I mean, if you've got the right brush and you've got the right pigment, it's just so much easier to adjust things than if you don't. So I can go in and adjust these things and raise them up and sort them out, and it just comes together much easier. Remind me to use a big brush next time I'm painting if I forget. Say, Shanth, where's your big brush? Let's go. But what happened was I started sketching with the small brush, and then I just forgot to switch back over. It's too funny. There you go. That's what we're trying to do. I mean, just look at how the big brush just wants to paint. You know what I'm saying? Don't put the big brush in the corner. Yeah, they're monsters, though. Yeah, they are. 100% they're monsters. I think look at the fluffy tuft on their backs and heads. Yeah, I think they do. They are monsters. Yeah, do not agitate bison. That's a whole YouTube rabbit hole to go down. Near death or death experiences. Yeah, I hate cottonmouth water moccasins with a passion. Yeah, they are aggressive. That's why I couldn't believe that they wouldn't kill and eat the beavers. That didn't even make sense to me. Yeah, they are. When they're hungry, they're vicious. When the going gets tough, 100%. Yeah, isn't that wild? I mean, who would have thought? But I mean, that's what's so great about YouTube is you can find out so much information. For me, it's all about the chance conversations that we do on Comics and Curios inside the studio. We never know where this is going to go. You guys show up, I paint, we show books, and then all of a sudden we go off in a wild direction, and that's, to me, the best part of it, is you never know where it's going to go. And it's fun. It's much like life and everything else. You know? I mean, it's funny when you're friends with people and you can't remember how you became friends. You've been friends with them forever, and you just think, oh, we've always been friends. Just like that. My brother Nick is like that. I do not know what was the first moment we were friends, but we've been thick as thieves ever since, man. Good dude. And really helped me to understand painting better. Just a great guy. Gotta love it. I mean, a lot of you guys who are channel members and have been here for a really long time, I always just think, like, I can't imagine a time when you guys weren't here. It's just a trip. There we go. And so now we're starting to put her together and get those big forms in there that we need, you know. Shanth, don't forget the big brush. Thought I'd remind you. Yeah, no kidding. I probably will forget in the next 5 minutes, knowing me. Oh, my gosh. But for the grace of God, let me tell you guys, no doubt about it. Now I can start to put those shadows back in, because I really needed to move that up to get it to where it needs to be, so I could make that arm, you know, be at the right angle. Get that in there. It's just you get way more into a painting mindset when you've got that bigger brush, because it just holds so much paint. Look at how much I'm able to get that opacity to work, and then it just also will fade that paint out, and you just start to see how everything starts to come together. You can get those angles in there, which are so important. There you go. Look at that. That's fun. That's really fun. The Few, the Proud, the OG, 100%. Christopher Bouchard, artwork looks fantastic. Oh, thanks, Chris. It's been a struggle with that little brush, man. I'm telling you. I'm glad I'm finally getting it back on the rails. I'm saying in the advance of your next paint. Yeah, you're right. Don't forget your big brush. Yeah, say it loud. Say it proud. Dad's cousin bought a new Panama straw hat once, and his neighbor had a jackass. Oh, no. He was talking to the neighbor. Sorry, I'm like not even reading this. Panama straw hat. I was reading it to myself once, and his neighbor had a jackass. He was talking to the neighbor, and whoops, hang on a second. Talking to the neighbor, and they were close to the fence, and the jackass grabbed the straw hat and ate it. Yeah, man, those things you do not want to make them biting angry. I will tell you that, man. They do not mess around. Yeah, there's certain animals that are don't have a temperament for fooling with them. That much is certain. Yeah. Woo-hoo. I mean, and I don't know if there's a lot of survival stories, or at least survival stories that don't require considerable recovery time for getting kicked by a mule or a horse. Oof. I want to talk about strength, man. Those are some strong animals. Bison, I mean, I feel like they say on the description, don't come near me, so that's on... I don't know how to help people with that. You can't fix that. There we go. And yeah, I mean, it's I always like streams like this where things go in a weird direction, and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Because I think you learn more from that stuff. It's like, oh, that's the difference between a big brush and a small brush. That's what it was. Like, or that's like what the difference is. And so you kind of got to see me paint like I used to paint when I was starting out, which is using too small of a brush, you know? Worst dog bite. Yes. Oh, you know what's funny is, and I don't want to tell John Malin this, but one of the worst dog bites I ever saw was a buddy of mine in elementary school got bit by a Dachshund. He was leaning down to see it, and because he didn't know whose it was, he had to get rabies shots. That thing bit him on the face, and I mean, he was mangled. I mean, it looked like that thing was on him for days. Yeah, two-holler outhouse. My uncle, oh my gosh, my grandparents had a two-holler outhouse, and my uncle and aunt went out there. My aunt's, oh my God, no. No, snake in the toilet. Dude, that's a near-death experience, man. Yeah. Yeah, a guy here locally was gored but killed by, a beefalo. Yeah, several years ago. He got rid of them all. Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, terrible at wrestling. Can't play chess for Philippines. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Dude, seriously, there's some crazy stuff out there. Wieners are bred to destroy. Yeah, apparently, right, they were to hunt rats and rat holes. I think so were Yorkshire Terriers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I learn a lot about, like, the more time I hang out with interesting people like y'all, it's, I pick up on this stuff, because you never know where the conversation's going to go. It's wild. Ugh, man, why didn't I do this sooner? But I do love it. I love, like, that's like, I was telling, somebody was asking me, like, what's the most important survival skill, whether it's for the arts or it's life. And I've always said, the biggest survival skill, if you don't have this, it's going to be a long road and a long life, is the ability to laugh at yourself. And just to look at something you're doing and going, what on earth was I doing? When I'm doing a painting or a drawing or anything like that. I mean, that's critical. Critical for improvement, critical for everything else. You just got to be able to laugh when things go sideways. I told this story to my son, and I think I've said it on stream, but I never get tired of telling it because it's so funny. I was when my son was a toddler and he had just gotten toilet trained. I was taking him into a public restroom, and I was trying to, like, get him, ready for the toilet. And I was trying to keep his hands clean and away from things because it's like, it wasn't the best restroom. And all of a sudden he took his hand and he planted it down between the toilet seat on the porcelain where it is suboptimal. And I went, wait. And I grabbed him and he took his hand and he put it right in my eye. It was hilarious, man. And if you don't laugh, if you can't laugh about that and you go into a full tilt panic attack, you're going to be in trouble, man. Because life's just a series of that, man. Right? It's just like, what is going on? Oh, you can't let your guard down, man. You can't let your guard down with those little ones. They'll get you. They'll get you every time. But there's so many funny things like that you just got to laugh about. Like, you can't take yourself too seriously. It's not good, man. And, my friends and I, we laugh about stuff. We probably share more stories of things like just idiocy that we've done and shaking our heads than we do anything else. I mean, it's just, we crack ourselves up with this stuff. Yeah, I know. Cranberry Landers hasn't recovered. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. That could have been the alternative, you know. I'm amazed I didn't lose that eye. I think that's the best way to think about it. Amazed I didn't lose that eye. There we go. Oh, that's the business right there. Just starting to put the light hitting the chin in there. That'll look great. There we go. Now we're working. Yeah, big brush, guys. Big brush is the way to go. If I haven't said it enough times. Don't learn from what I did in the first part of the stream. Learn from what I did later. There we go. Now she's coming together. So there we go. She's coming together well, and I think we're getting there. I'll be doing more on this painting and other paintings probably for the horror of painting this week. So you guys will see me do more work on stuff like this and more stuff. You know, just this whole stream, I'm just gonna be doing more painting and more hanging out with y'all. And oh my gosh, of a dog catching an armadillo and taking it inside the house. Oh my god. Yikes, man. Yikes. Yeah, that was a horror story. So thank you guys for being here on another fine Sunday. It's always a pleasure to see you. Comics and Curios inside the studio. We got 74 people watching. Make sure you hit that like, and thank you guys. You guys kicked butt today. Leave a comment when the stream is over if you can. As soon as it's up, leave a comment down below. It helps with everything. And thank you to my channel members. Guys, your names are going to be in the credits, so stick around to make sure you see your name in the credits if you're a channel member. From the heart of Lovecraft country and the birthplace of American religious liberty, my name is Jonathan Jetty. You've been watching Jonathan Jetty Art, and I want to thank you guys for keeping me company this Sunday. And always a great time seeing you guys. So speak easy, stay gold, keep the faith, and peace be with you guys. I will see you guys very soon. Give nihilism no quarter, and have a great rest of your Sunday. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it. Thank you, Cursed Heart Creations. Much appreciated. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Thank you, Cranberry Landers. Mark's Music Obsession, brother. Always great to see you. Let me see here. Thank you so much, Roxy and Chica. I appreciate it. Timmy Mello, my brother. Great to see you, man. Let me see. And I got my brother, Cranberry Landers. Simply Green. Great to see you, my friend. I hope you guys are having a great time. Here are the credits. Thank you for your support, everybody. I will see you guys very, very soon, and I cannot wait to give you guys an update. Take care, Comic Books and Cahoots. Pleasure as always. Can't wait to see you guys, show you guys the books when I figure out when those are shipping and when they come, and then it's off to the races mailing out Nosferatu, and I cannot wait to get that stuff in the mail for you. Take care, guys. I will see you soon, and thank you so much for being here. Absolutely. God bless Cranberry Landers. Thank you so much, Pitty Ma. I appreciate it. And here we go.